He told her she'd never survive without him. She believed it, until the day she didn't. This is the story of Monica Taylor, a woman who spent 17 years living in someone else's shadow, until she found her voice again. Monica Taylor used to be the kind of woman who filled a room without saying a word. Her laugh could light up Sunday church, and her smile could make strangers feel like family. But over time, that light faded, dimmed slowly, quietly, until even Monica couldn't recognize the woman staring back at her in the mirror. It all began in Atlanta, Georgia. Monica was 24, full of dreams, working as a nurse's assistant while saving up for nursing school. That's when she met David. Tall, charming, the kind of man who knew how to make a woman feel like she was the only person in the room. He was older by 6 years, worked as an IT specialist, and spoke with the confidence of someone who had life all figured out. First, David made Monica feel safe. He'd pick her up from work, bring her dinner when she worked long shifts, and tell her she deserved the world. But soon, his words became commands disguised as love. "Why are you still working those late shifts, baby? You don't need to be out there like that. Why you talking so much with your coworkers? Not everyone deserves your time. Why you dressing up like that? You don't need attention from nobody else." What started as care became control. And Monica, young and eager to please, thought obedience meant love. The first thing David asked her to give up was her friends. He said they were toxic. Then he asked her to quit her job. He'd take care of everything. First, Monica felt lucky. She thought she'd found a man who wanted to protect her. But months turned into years, and Monica realized she wasn't being protected. She was being hidden. Her world became smaller with each passing day. The walls of their home, once filled with laughter, became silent. Her phone stopped ringing. Her confidence vanished. And so did her voice. David's words carved scars deeper than any wound. "You can't do anything without me. No one would want you if you leave. You're lucky I put up with you." Monica stopped arguing. She stopped dreaming. She even stopped praying because she believed God had forgotten her. 17 years of silence. That's how long Monica lived in that shadow. Until one Sunday morning something changed. David had gone out of town for work. Monica walked past their bedroom mirror and saw herself. Aged, tired, eyes dull. She hardly recognized the woman staring back. Then she noticed something. A box under the bed, filled with her old things. Nursing school brochures, photos of her friends, and a small notebook titled, "My Future." As she flipped through it, tears filled her eyes. Dreams she'd buried years ago resurfaced. Finish nursing school, open a clinic in my neighborhood, help other women heal. That night, Monica sat at the edge of the bed and whispered to herself for the first time in years, "I want my life back." Leaving wasn't easy. David controlled the money, the house, even the car keys. So Monica began to plan quietly, like a woman escaping a storm. She started saving small amounts from grocery money. She reconnected with her cousin Brenda, a social worker who had once tried to reach out years ago. Together they built a plan. Brenda helped her find a women's shelter that supported victims of emotional abuse. The day she left, it rained heavily. David was at work, and Monica stood in front of the mirror one last time. She didn't see a victim anymore. She saw a survivor about to be reborn. She packed one suitcase, her nursing books, and the notebook titled, "My Future." And then, with trembling hands and a steady heart, she walked out. The first few nights at the shelter were quiet but freeing. No shouting, no fear. Just silence. And this time it was peaceful. She met other women there, each with their own scars, their own stories of lost identity. Through counseling, Monica began to understand what she had endured wasn't love. It was control. She cried, she healed, and she started writing again. Her counselor encouraged her to apply for a local community college's nursing program. First, Monica laughed at the idea. "I'm too old," she said. But her counselor smiled. "You're right on time." And so, at 41, Monica sat in her first college classroom. Her hands trembled as she held a pen, but her spirit soared. Months passed, and Monica flourished. She reconnected with her faith, joined a church choir, and began volunteering at the shelter that once saved her. She started sharing her story with younger women, quietly at first, then boldly. One day, while speaking to a group, she said something that would define her new life. Silence can be comfortable, but it can also be deadly. If your voice shakes when you speak, speak anyway. Her words brought the room to tears. Monica wasn't just surviving, she was transforming. Years later, Monica graduated with honors and became a registered nurse. The same woman who was once told she couldn't survive without her husband was now helping other women find their strength. But then, one afternoon, David showed up at the hospital where she worked. He looked older, defeated, and tried to smile. "Monica," he said softly, "I've changed." Monica looked at him, calm, steady. For a moment, she saw the man she once loved. But she also saw the years of control, silence, and pain. "I'm glad you did," she replied. "But I didn't need to wait for you to change. I changed for me." And with that, she walked away, this time for good. Today, Monica Taylor runs a small non-profit in Atlanta called Her Voice Rising. It helps women rebuild their lives after emotional and psychological abuse, providing counseling, housing, and career support. When asked why she does it, Monica always says, "Because I remember what it's like to be silent. And I never want another woman to forget that her voice matters." Freedom felt strange at first. The silence that once terrified her now felt like possibility. But some nights, the silence still echoed with David's voice, those old phrases that clung to her mind like chains. "You're nothing without me. You won't last a week on your own." At the shelter, her counselor had told her something she never forgot. Abuse doesn't end the day you leave. It ends the day you heal. So Monica made healing her full-time mission. She started journaling again, writing letters to herself, to the younger Monica who had once been full of dreams. She wrote about fear, about shame, about forgiveness. Most of all, she wrote about hope. Every morning, she'd sit by the window of her small apartment, drink coffee from a chipped mug, and whisper her new mantra, "I am still here. And that means I can begin again." Going back to school at 41 was not easy. Her classmates were mostly in their 20s, confident, quick, social media savvy. Monica often felt like an outsider. But every time she doubted herself, she remembered something her mother used to say before she passed. "Baby, God don't rush greatness. He takes his time." And he surely took his time with her. There were nights Monica studied until dawn, balancing work as a hospital janitor just to pay tuition. There were days she wanted to quit, when bills piled up, or when she looked at herself and thought she'd lost too much time. But then, she'd remember the woman who had once been too afraid to speak. And she'd whisper, "If I could survive that, I can survive anything." One morning, as she left class, Monica saw a young woman crying in the hallway. She recognized the look, that blend of exhaustion and hopelessness she used to see in her own eyes. The girl, Tasha, was 23 and recently left an abusive relationship. She was scared, broke, and alone. Monica sat beside her, placed a hand on her shoulder, and said softly, "Baby, I've been where you are. You might feel broken now, but you're not. You're just rebuilding." That small act, comforting a stranger, reignited something in Monica, her purpose. She realized that her pain wasn't just meant to destroy her. It was meant to teach her how to heal and then teach others the same. After finishing her nursing degree, Monica started working full-time at a women's recovery center in Atlanta. Her compassion was magnetic. Her patients, many of them survivors of emotional or domestic abuse, trusted her instantly. She didn't just treat their wounds, she understood them. In every soft-spoken word and patient smile, she gave them what she once needed most: belief that healing was possible. One evening, a young mother named Denise told Monica, "You're the first person who looked at me and didn't see a victim. You saw me." That night, Monica cried again, not from pain but from gratitude. Because she realized her story had come full circle. She had spent years being unseen, unheard, invisible. Now her life was helping others be seen again. With a few friends, Monica began organizing small support groups for women recovering from emotional trauma. They met every Friday evening in a church basement, folding chairs, paper cups of coffee, and raw honesty. First 5 women showed up, then 10, then 30. Word spread quickly. Monica's gentle yet powerful presence made women feel safe enough to speak their truth, sometimes for the first time in years. She named the group Her Voice Rising. It started as a small circle of hope. But soon, it grew into a registered non-profit organization. They offered therapy sessions, job training, and housing for women leaving abusive homes. Monica's story became the heartbeat of the organization. She spoke at churches, conferences, and schools, always beginning her talks with the same line. I was silent for 17 years. But silence didn't save me, speaking did. Years later, when Monica was 48, love found her again, in the most unexpected way. His name was Samuel Jones, a gentle man who worked as a carpenter. He had kind eyes, quiet confidence, and a laugh that made Monica feel safe, not small. At first, she resisted him. She'd built her world on independence, on not needing anyone's approval. But Samuel wasn't like David. He didn't want to control her light. He wanted to sit beside it to help it shine brighter. One night, while they watched the sunset from her porch, he said softly, "You know, Monica, you talk about helping women find their voices. But you already found yours. I'm just here to listen." Tears filled her eyes. Because for the first time, she believed she could be loved, not for her obedience, but for her strength. They married 2 years later, quietly, surrounded by close friends and the women whose lives she'd touched. It wasn't a grand ceremony, just laughter, gospel music, and gratitude. Monica used her nursing skills and her non-profit network to start free health clinics for women who couldn't afford care. She partnered with other Black women entrepreneurs in Atlanta to provide job opportunities for survivors rebuilding their lives. She also began mentoring younger girls, teaching them self-worth, boundaries, and financial independence. In one of her workshops, she told the girls, "Don't ever let someone tell you your worth depends on them. God gave you worth the moment He gave you breath." Her message spread beyond her city, featured in local newspapers, podcasts, and online platforms focused on women's empowerment. But Monica stayed humble. Every success reminded her of the night she left, with one suitcase and a dream. One day, Monica received a letter in the mail. The handwriting was familiar. It was from David. He wrote that he had joined a men's accountability program and wanted to apologize for the years of control and emotional abuse. He said he'd realized too late how deeply he'd hurt her. Monica read the letter in silence. She didn't feel anger. She didn't feel pity. She just felt peace. That night, she placed the letter inside her old notebook, the same one titled My Future. And then she wrote her final entry inside it. "I forgive you not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." She closed the notebook, smiled, and whispered, "I'm free now." By her mid-50s, Her Voice Rising had become one of the most respected organizations for women's emotional recovery in the state of Georgia. Monica often appeared on local TV to talk about her journey, always emphasizing that emotional abuse doesn't always leave bruises, but it leaves wounds that take time to heal. She created mentorship programs, launched a scholarship fund for single mothers returning to school, and opened transitional housing for survivors. Every year, the organization held a candlelight vigil called The Night We Speak. Hundreds of women gathered, holding candles in silence. Then one by one, they began to share their stories. At the end of each vigil, Monica would take the stage and say, "Look around you. These lights. There are voices. And tonight we rise." One summer evening, a young woman approached Monica after the vigil. She introduced herself as Alyssa, a survivor who had attended Monica's very first support group years ago. She said, "Miss Monica, I'm studying to be a social worker because of you. I want to help women like you helped me." Monica hugged her tightly. That night, she sat in her office, staring at the wall covered with photos, faces of hundreds of women whose lives had been touched by her voice rising. Tears filled her eyes again. Not of sadness but gratitude, because she realized something profound. Her story was no longer just hers. It had become a movement. Years later, when Monica turned 60, her story was featured in a local documentary titled, Walking Away from Shadows. In the final scene, she looked straight into the camera. Calm, radiant, and full of grace. She said, "I used to believe silence kept me safe. But silence kept me small. If you're listening right now and you're afraid to leave, I want you to know something. Freedom doesn't start when you walk out the door. It starts the moment you decide you deserve more." Her words resonated across screens, across hearts. Today, Monica Taylor's name stands for resilience. Her organization has helped over 2,000 women rebuild their lives. She continues to mentor, speak, and serve, not as a victim, not even as a survivor, but as a builder of voices. Her journey from silence to strength is a reminder that healing is not a straight path. It's a series of small, brave choices made every day. No darkness is deep enough to erase your light. No voice is too small to be heard. You are not defined by the pain that tried to silence you, but by the courage that made you speak again. Walking away isn't the end. It's the beginning of finding yourself.